Hello. Wow. Look at you. You're in space.
You've got to be in a spaceship, haven't you? Isn't that the whole point of everything?
Chris, meet Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Hello, Chris. I've met you through the medium of sound, but not person to person.
Yeah. Likewise.
I was sitting on top of a mountain skiing in France, I think, and the phone rang, and it was James, and he said, "I've got you a gig with the Osric Tentacles." And he said, "Well, that's fantastic, but we don't have a band." So we cobbled together a band. We've obviously got Chris in, and we got Michelle in, who sang on a couple of tracks on that first album.
A friend of mine had said you got to listen to Michelle. She wants to do a bit of recording and stuff, and we went down to where we were recording. We called the Pig Farm, and to go and just give her a bit of a tryout. And it just so happened that Rich and Steve were there, working on The Voice, weren't you?
It was really strange, Matt, because we sat there with a pretty much finished song. We had a vocalist in mind, but I didn't think her voice was right, and we need to find the right voice. And then Chris turned up with this girl called Michelle, and we said, "Well, have a go then." And she nailed it in one track, and it was exactly the voice in my head. It was just.
Yeah. It was literally first take, wasn't it?
First take. Yeah, we did a couple of other takes, I think, but we just kept the first one.
Yeah,
and you love it when that happens.
Yeah, really good.
What are you up to, Matt? You're out in Greece?
Yeah, I'm on the island of Paros in Greece. Pete Lawrence, who ran the Big Chill Festival, founded and ran the Big Chill Festival, and is a friend, has a house here and has lived here for quite a while, but decided to move over permanently just before Brexit to, I think, retain his European status, as did I. And he said, "Why don't you come over? I think you'd like it here." So it was the first clearest option away from England. And then the other pull was a friend called Mary Valiakas, who is a real mover and shaker. She's a writer, but she's a real mover and shaker in the world of community building, I guess. It's probably the best way to describe it, conscious community building. And she encouraged me to come over here, and we have an ongoing dialogue about various projects. And then the sort of the cultural interest was that I'd been spending quite a few years engaged with the world of mantra and devotional music that had mostly come from India, and exploring it. It was an ongoing process for me of exploring music as a healing tool, as a tool for creating equilibrium, balance. And I had this realization that I'd been looking east all the time for my wisdom, where the cradle of European cultural birth, if you like, in the modern era, so starting 2,500 years ago, is Greece. It's the central point of so much of what we have in society that is worth celebrating, exploring and expanding. Culturally, it's a phenomenal place. The mythologies, the architecture, the energy here. I'm sat not far from what's known as the Apollo ley line, and it goes right the way through the island of Delos, which is supposedly the birthplace of Apollo in mythology. Cuts right up through Europe. Mont Saint-Michel and St. Michael's Mount are on it, and then it goes to the west coast of Ireland. It cuts through Stonehenge. It's a line of sacred temples going through various eras of human history, and you can feel it. You can feel this electromagnetic pulse. It's creatively inspiring. It's healing. I believe, I haven't really talked about this with other people yet, beyond a sort of mythology level, but I think what it does is it helps to realign your natural vibration, as in your connection to the Earth's frequencies. So we are resonating, and we resonate with the movements of the stars above us, and we resonate with the magnetic push and pull and vibration of the Earth's, what are they called, telluric currents, I think they're called, the ley lines. And when you're close to one of these ley lines in a place where there's an awful lot of water, which of course has a sort of cymatic effect on you, it transmutes and transmits and carries energy, then you have an enhanced experience if you're sensitive to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely feel it around water. I love to be. That's what I'm in Brighton, and I came down here for the sea. There's something about it, and I've written a lot of music sitting on the beach with my guitar, and it just kind of. Yeah, I actually lost a guitar into the sea once. I wasn't paying attention, and this wave just came. I retrieved it, but I mean, I probably shouldn't have done. It was right in the middle of the night, and I was going in fully clothed after my guitar.
I've had a few close calls over the years, so
I did have one moment on the beach years ago with some people that I was just sitting down having a beer with, and the guy had brought along a black acoustic guitar, and we were having turns sitting around this bonfire, taking turns playing the guitar, and this guy was singing a song, and it just imploded. It got too hot on the front and too cold on the back, and it just went.
I've got an exploding instrument story. Wow, I played it reminds me of playing at a festival in Cairns. I think probably would have been about 2010 in Australia, and it was tropical hot, and I was doing a Panametric set, and it was laptop live guitar, and I was working with a guy called Tim Wigg, who's an Australian DJ, and he was using Serato, and he was spinning in beats in real time over my backing tracks, which I was jamming with. It was a really nice combination. It worked really well. And he'd set up, is it Serato where you have the dummy decks and then you have dummy vinyl? Someone will have to.
I know the thing you're talking about, but I wouldn't know the name of it.
I think it's Serato. So you have sort of false vinyl, which gives you the feel of vinyl. It doesn't actually have the music encoded on it. The music is coming off.
Yeah, it's just got like a time. It's just got like a time code on the vinyl or something, hasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So he set up. We got there early. We'd set up. We were playing. I think we were opening the main stage on the Saturday. So we got set up and went backstage, got some drinks, had a chat with a few people, walked out onto the stage, and Tim comes running across to me as I'm plugging the guitar in and says, "My vinyl's melted," and the heat of the sun had literally melted the wax onto his.
Are you making music at the moment over there, Matt? I've not asked you yet when it was.
Yeah, I am. I've got several projects on the go at once. I'm 3/4 of the way through an album with Jamie Cato. Jamie was the founding member of Faithless, and then One Giant Leap was his project. And he's
One Giant Leap was fantastic. I love that.
Yeah,
really good.
They've just relaunched the project.
Have they?
I'm due to catch up with Jamie this week actually, and find out what his plans are with that. Which it's amazing because it was such a groundbreaking project when it came out. He's an inspiring person to work with. The video that went along with it was fantastic as well. I remember that well. I listened to it a lot. Yeah, it was a really inspiring project and groundbreaking as well. So I've been working on an album with him. We're about 3/4 of the way through that. Most of the material's written. There'll be tweaking and edits and mixing to do. We want to do a couple more tracks, and then we're there, and it's just flowed. It was totally different to what we thought was going to happen. He put a post up. He's part of a sort of a network of mutual friends, but I didn't know him, hadn't met him in person, and he put a post up in October just as I was prepping to come over here, saying, "Who's got a mobile recording setup? Anyone want to make an ambient album?" And I'm like, "I want to work with this guy." And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And he said, "Well, come up to Oxford and then we'll do it." And I said, "I can't. I'm just about to go to Greece." And he goes, "Oh, well, then let's go to Corfu and do it." So he booked an apartment for a couple of weeks and we went over to Corfu. And my Greek journey started in Corfu.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It was amazing. So I've recorded some nice lyra music, the lyre, and it really is a magical instrument. I've recorded quite a lot of natural sounds since I've been here. I love this part of a creative process where you're filling up to the point at which something's going to come out and express itself, and then it's often a very intense process. One of the things I've learned over the years is to recognize the rhythms of when you're full and when you're empty, and what to do about it. And that's partly why I've become a creative coach. You know, everything that I discuss with people in coaching is just a reflection of my own journey. And, you know, the answer to why I got into so many difficult situations over the years on a bizarre musical career is that because I was learning how to show the people what not to do as much as what to do. Yeah. And one of the big lessons, I think, is really understanding where you are on the dynamic journey in terms of inspiration. You know, a number of people that come to me and say I'm blocked, or I have nothing to say right now. And it's like, well, great. Let's get you some inspiration. What are you doing about gathering inspiration? Oh, I'm not doing anything. Well, are you surprised you've got nothing to say? You can't create in a vacuum, you know. So where I'm at right now with this project is I'm filling up with inspiration. I'm gathering resources. And you play a game in that you keep on bringing things in and you follow these instinctive paths. And whilst you're filling up, synchronicities begin to happen around you that dictate where your next piece of inspiration will come from. So you self-generate inspiration, but it has to start with a number of risks. You have to do something bold. And I also believe, not everyone would agree with this, but I believe that in order to express something new and different, you have to go through some kind of an internal change. And that work may be unrelated to music or art. It may be some other kind of work that you need to do with yourself. One needs to evolve internally in order to express something new externally.
Yeah, well, that kind of touches on where we got together, Matt, really, because you very kindly agreed to coach and mentor me. I don't know, I think it might have been about 18 months ago, something like that. And I was kind of expecting to learn what I needed to know technically about production. Because I had this thing and I listened to not too long ago, and I was shockingly bad what I sent you the first time around, but I was stuck, and I thought it was going to be production technique and things like that. But I think the first 3 or 4 hour session, I don't think we got a computer out. I don't think we listened to a song.
Especially with something that's as unique and variable and personal as creativity. How do we learn that stuff? Teaching is the passing on of knowledge. So I can teach you how to plug in a piece of kit, or you could teach me how to play the bass guitar or the drums or the guitar. You know, there's a simple exchange of knowledge. Mentoring is when you use the knowledge that you've used yourself in life. When you've used that knowledge and had experience with that knowledge, you then pass on the experience of the use of knowledge to somebody else. So it's a bit like the difference between intelligence and wisdom. What's that lovely definition? Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. So mentoring is like wisdom, you know, and teaching is like intelligence. And then coaching is something slightly different again, because coaching is setting goals for the process of change, really. I mean, that's my interpretation of it. Other people, the strict definition is an improvement of performance, because it evolved from the world of a sport and then into business. And my iteration of it is to help creatives, because that's what I know about. Really what you're doing is you're encouraging a process of change so that someone can tune in to their natural creative flow and express themselves more authentically in whatever creative medium they're working with. So I might not, in the process of a coaching session, ever talk to you about the mixing desk or the guitar. I might not share any of the wisdom that I've experienced over the years playing the guitar or mixing a track. I might talk to you about how do you fill up with inspiration? What are your rhythms and patterns of creativity? When do you best create? You know, I'm looking at your operating system as a creative, and I'm saying, how can I tweak that? What can I change in the patterns of what you're doing to access something that's hidden or lost or needs bringing forward in some way? Haven't done.
Just tell us how great we are.
You're amazing.
Well, actually, I was going to ask.
Go on.
Well, I was going to say, but it might not be the right questions to ask. But I mean, so I sent you what I thought was a finished album when you were over with James in Dubai. And then we've ended up with what we've ended up with. So how do you see that journey, as far as you're concerned, as far as you're my mentor and what you pulled out of me to get there? Is that something you want to...
That's a really interesting question, and this may go on for more than 10 minutes. But let's have a crack at it, because it's really interesting, really interesting. So first of all, to acknowledge that James, not only did he catalyze your band forming by telling you had a gig when you didn't have a band. He catalyzed the process of me working with you. I'd say I've been more of a coach than a mentor. I think what I've done really is just try and find the path for you. You know, I've worn all three hats at different times. There's been an element of exchanging knowledge. There's been an element of exchanging wisdom based on use of that knowledge. And there's also been simply what's best for Rich and the band to move forward. How do we do this differently? Mm-hmm. So, but it was James that actually, I think the reality was that he said, there's some uncollected royalties. Why don't we put that into some coaching sessions and help them to make a decent album, you know? Yeah. And it's well, okay, I'm up for that. And what I love about what you do is it's melodic and musical, and there was a sense of untapped potential about it. It's like, my goodness me, why don't you just take it a few yards that direction and just tweak that a little bit that way? And so it was inspirational for me to hear something that was at a point where I thought it could go further without a huge amount of change or a huge amount of effort. And then we met up, and I'd started in earnest on my coaching journey. I hadn't long since got my qualification. Mm-hmm. And the qualification for me was a way of putting a structure around something that I tended to do naturally anyway. I really loved engaging in, you know, this is what I see, what do you see? How can we make it better? That conversation has always been part of everything I've done creatively. So with you guys, it was a question of how do you take the spirit of a live jam festival band and the synergy that you have and turn that into something that is a progression of what you've already done, but is not limited by the live context that you'd come from. In other words, can you break away from that and make a more studio-based album without losing your vibe? Is it possible to do that? So this is a classic problem for all producers. At some point or another, you come up with a very similar dilemma. How do you capture the live spirit, but how do you actually progress it as well so that you can enhance through the studio craft? And then on top of that was really, you know, what James was really asking me to do was to work with you, Rich, as a writer, and I guess as the band leader, and say, how can we evolve you as the writer? How can we move you forward so that what you're making with this collection of songs is a progression, is an evolution of who you are as an artist? And the work that we did was really about looking at your whole life. You know, we didn't just talk about the record and the making of the record. We looked at the context. So what elements have we got here? We've got beautiful melodies written about current and interesting topics, sung from the heart, written from the heart. We've got great sensitivity. We've got a beautifully tight band. You know, it's so obviously a family. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to try to do that. Really, for me, it was about animating it, and it was about pressure testing how far you would let me run with the ball. So I did one remix, which was the pressure testing. I didn't plan this. This just evolved. Yeah. You know, it all just happened very naturally. And the remix I did because I really, really, really liked the song and I just got off on it. It was just like, wow, you know. And then a really nice opportunity to work with you in terms of just sort of giving you notes really about how this could work, but always asking, how do you hear it? You know, how are you hearing it? Because if you think about it, what we're doing as musicians, as producers, as writers, is we're just going into advanced states of listening, and we get lost in our perspective of listening so often, not just simply in terms of is the hi-hat too loud, but how am I telling the story and what story am I telling? and I'm a harmony junkie. So what I could hear, and this is just synergy of our relationship, it's like it's good synchronicity that we got introduced together, because what I could hear that was missing in a few places was, changing a root note to change the harmony in something quite dramatically without having to change very much at all. That sort of find the right pivot point with the fulcrum and you can shift the whole mountain kind of thing.
Brilliant. Good stuff, chaps.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good to speak to you, Matt. I think we're about literally going to get cut off in a minute, I think.
All right. Great to see you guys. Speak to you all again soon. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, mate.